Hello guys, welcome to the Solid as a Stock session. Hopefully obvious what we're going to be doing. We are going to be looking at some stock trades that we put on before, trades that we might be able to put on today as new opportunities. I'm just going to put the disclaimers up there on the screen. Please read them. I won't read them to you, so if you do need to pause the video to read them, by all means do that. Now, if you have any questions, if you're watching live, then let me know in the chat box, because I'd always like to know as we go if there are particular things I should be addressing or expanding on or anything like that. So let me know in the chat box if you're watching live, if you do have questions, or if you have a particular market you want me to look at or timeframes you want me to look at or something like that. If you are watching this recorded or you would rather do this by email, then of course you can email me if you have questions. The best email address to get me on is becky@traddictiv.com. There's also support@traddictiv.com, which you can email for questions, and I'll show you another place you can go as well to ask questions in a second. Let's just cover the agenda. So we will look through the current market environment. We'll look at trades that we put on last time. Did they win? Did they lose? Did they break even? Did we cancel them? Any open positions and how we might be managing that. And then we'll look at some new opportunities as well. So let's have a look at, let's see if we can, I'll just show you this place first, she says, there you go. So if I just bring up tradewithufos.com/Becky, this link will take you to a web page. That's my internet being a bit slow there, but here we go. It will take you to a web page where you can get different apps and platforms, some of which are free. You can come down and book one-on-one coaching if you'd like to. And you can come down here, you can log in for free in this bit, and you can ask questions in this area. Now, the reason why it's best to do that is because other people can see the answers and the questions, so we all kind of learn from the same place, kind of like an FAQ, frequently asked questions section. So ideally that's where you go for questions. If not, of course, you can email me. Okay, so let's have a look at some trades that we placed last time. So let's bring up our chart. And we'll bring up, for me anyway, we'll bring up what we were looking at last time as well in terms of the trades that we put on. Okay, so we had this one, which is Centerpoint Energy, CNP. This one so far, for those that joined last time, you'll know what we're looking at here. For those that maybe have never joined one of our sessions before, bear with me. This first part will be explaining things that we did last time, so it might not make such sense or so much sense, but then as we get into looking at new opportunities, I'll slow down to give you a little bit of context around what we're doing. Also, by the way, before I do this, I should have said, we are streaming this session in different places. We're streaming it on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, other places as well. We are also streaming within our closed coaching environment. So for those that are watching on the free environment, so Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever, around about the halfway point, we cut the stream to the free streams and we continue within the closed coaching environment. People are paying a small monthly fee to get access to more of our time in the closed coaching environment, so they essentially get the other half of the session. Now, everything we do, the content is the same, it's just a different amount of time that people have access to. So around about the halfway mark, after I've at least placed one trade, is when I will cut the stream to the free places and we'll continue in the closed coaching. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so what we have here, we had CNP. We entered at this black-blue line and our stop loss was this red line. We've already hit our first target, which is this green line, and we're on our way to the second target, which is this second line. So if we hit that, then this will be an overall profitable trade. At the moment, it's still open. Then we had HE, Hawaiian Electric. I believe this was a loss. It was, and unfortunately, if I just squish this down, I think we had a, we had a trailing stop, I think. Yeah, we did. Okay. So with this one, it looks like we didn't get stopped out, which is good actually. 15, yeah, okay, brilliant. So we are in this trade, it's open. We are, sorry, I thought by the looks of it quickly that we'd got stopped out, but we're actually still in this trade and we've already hit our first target, which is great. So the black blue line was our entry, the red line was our stop. Price came in at this point and has moved out in our favor, already hit our first target. So now the worst that happens is that we would break even. If price comes back against us now and hits our stop loss, then great, no problem. We'll just break even. We won't win, we won't lose, no problem. If it continues up, then we will manage our trade in order to lock in profit on the way up. So let me show you what I mean by that. So we used a 2-day chart on the bottom here. So we would have placed the trade because we had a green UFO around this price. There are no green UFOs here at the moment. And again, for those that are new, you won't necessarily know what a green UFO is. Bear with me, I'll get to that. For those that did watch last time, then this would be how you would manage this. As new UFOs form, so like that for example, is it that one? There you go. New UFOs form, we will move our stop loss from there to just behind that UFO. And then let's say price goes up, forms a new UFO. We do the same thing again. We take our stop loss from here and we put it here. Okay, so that's what we do to manage this trade. At the moment, everything would be left as is. We've already hit our first target. We then had GPC, Genuine Parts Company. Okay, so this one was a stop out. It was indeed. So this is one of the situations that is frustrating sometimes. We were right on the direction. So on the 17th of December, which was here, we were right on saying price would go up. We were wrong exactly on where we put our stop loss, which is a shame, but it can happen. We got stopped out here. So price moved straight through, hit our entry, moved straight through and hit our stop loss. So this was an out and out loss on this trade. Then we had FE, First Energy. Okay, so this one, we will be cancelling this trade. We placed it on the 17th of December, which was at this point. So we placed it around about here where this line is. Price has just continued to move up from there. Hasn't come down to hit our entry. It's now too far away. The criteria has changed, so we no longer want to be in this trade. We will cancel it, or we no longer want to be entered into this trade. So we will cancel it and not have this trade waiting anymore. Then we had WAB. Oh, picked the wrong one there. So Westinghouse Air Brake Technologies. This one was also a loss. So this was a short opportunity that we looked at. There's a 144 here. So we can see that on the 17th we placed the trade, around about here. On the 17th we placed the trade. Nothing happened. It didn't get triggered until the 23rd. On the 23rd we still had a thick red dot. We still had the EMA where it needed to be. So we would have left the trade on. And price moved out a little bit. It did react to our UFO, but not enough to hit our first target. Moved against us, stopped us out. So we would have had a stop out on this one. We also have, very quickly, we have another open trade that we put on a few months ago, a couple of months ago. This one was 3 days on the right hand side. This one we had an entry at this black line, stop loss at this red line. It's obviously moved up, hit our first target and on its way to our final target, which is up there. So it's got to come all the way up here for us to get out of this trade at our predefined profit. At the moment, there are no new UFOs that we would trail our stop behind, so we would leave it as it is for now. And then the last trade, FOE, Ferro Corporation. This one is open, not yet hit our first target. Nothing to do in terms of management. It's black line is the entry, red line is the stop. We got entered in a few weeks back, so 3rd of December, so around about on this line. We entered into the trade here and it's moved a little bit away, but not yet hit our first target. So it's an open trade there. Okay, so we've looked at all of our trades that we put on before. Let's have a quick look to understand how we might be affected in terms of news for the next week or so. I'm filtering here by United States because we're looking at US stocks and high impact news. So by doing that, and then let me just filter by the calendar. We want to know for the next week or so. Tend to look at sort of longer term swing trading. So 7th till the 14th. So a week. Bearing in mind that today in the morning we had news on non-farm payrolls, so that would have affected the markets more than likely, would have affected a lot of our individual stocks and also perhaps the US dollar as well. On Tuesday next week we'll have the Fed's chair testify. On Wednesday next week, again as the market opens, we'll have some consumer price index news. And then Friday next week, we'll have some retail sales and consumer sentiment index reports. So basically for the next week or so, we do have news reports coming out that could be affecting US markets. Be aware of it. You might want to cancel your trades just before the news comes out, give it its time to affect the markets, and then put your trades back on to just protect yourself against unwanted volatility. If you choose to leave it, that's also fine as well. We have our stop losses in, they should keep us at least a little bit safe, but just be aware that when we have high impact news coming out in the markets, especially back to back, we might see some extra volatility, which can of course be extra risky, but just be aware of it. Okay, let's look at some new opportunities. So I'm coming here to Top, which is our platform. You can also use TradeStation to do this and scan. You can also use TradingView to scan for things as well. I'm going to use Top in this instance. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to my matrix. Let's just make this a little bit bigger so we see that. What I've done, in fact, let's make it fully big then. What I've done on this scan is I'm looking at all stocks symbols. I'm looking at all US stocks and ETFs. That's what we see here. Minimum price of $15. You can change your scans and you might have $5, $10, $20. For us, we use 15 most of the time because the cheaper the stock, the less likely it is to be traded institutionally. The more expensive the stock, the more likely it is to be traded institutionally. We want to be trading things that are traded institutionally because they are the ones that are leaving buy orders and sell orders in places that our AutoUFOs pick up. Basically, we want to trade higher price stocks because that's more optimized for our apps that we use. But it doesn't have to be 15 exactly. It could be 12, it could be 10, it could be 20, but we use 15. I'm looking at a minimum average volume of 300,000. What I've done here, I've come to additional filters. I've filtered by our auto climate. Essentially what I'm looking for here is probability upwards. Now saying that, I've just realised I probably shouldn't have done that, and the reason for that, and let's have a look, is because the market as a whole is not up at the moment on a weekly chart. On a weekly chart, the market as a whole is unconfirmed. It's a thin dot on our auto climate, meaning it doesn't really know what it's doing. Now, that means we can either look for stocks that have probability up or probability down. Since I've already done it, let's have a look for stocks with probability up. That's also obviously good if you're looking for dividends and things, you want to own the stock. So I've filtered by auto climate. I'm looking for trades that have probability upwards and that would be sensible to get into and are near an ideal trading price. I've also filtered out stocks that have particular earnings reports coming out in the next 5 days. So I'm going to click scan, see what we're left with, and then I'm going to just filter by symbol. I'm going to go the other way alphabetically, just because I always start with the A's, so we'll go the other way. And we're just going to go through this one by one. We're going to click on these one by one until we see a good trade setup. So this is VVV, which is Valvoline. I think I've said that right, Valvoline Incorporated. So what we're looking at here is a thick blue dot. Probability is upwards. We are looking to buy if we have probability up. Where do we want to buy? We want to buy at the EMA price as long as it coincides with the UFO. So the EMA price at the moment is pretty much exactly where current price is, 35.42. As we can see, there are no UFOs around there, so we're not trading it. Now I'm going to cycle through different time frames, because sometimes doing that within a tight range, so I'm looking at a 1 day, a 2 day and a 3 day on the right hand side. I'm going to cycle through time frames. Sometimes doing that means that we can see different opportunities. I'm not going 4 hour, 3 hour, 2 hour, 1 hour 59 minutes, 58 minutes, you know, I'm not going through every single time frame, and I'm not going too far away from each other. On the left hand side we have the weekly chart, which we're looking at specifically for this because we want to be looking for trades that will last ideally a few days to a few weeks, maybe even a few months. We're using the weekly chart to determine whether or not we buy or sell. We are using the right hand side chart to help us determine exactly where to buy and sell, because we're using our UFOs to help us figure that out. The one on the right hand side is less relevant than the one on the left hand side. The one on the left hand side is showing us should we buy or sell based on the style of trader we are, the type of trader we are. Do we want to be trading in and out quickly every day? And therefore over here we're going to be using maybe hourly charts, 30-minute charts, 4-hour charts maybe. Or do we want to be investing long term, in which case we'd use a monthly chart? Or do we want to be somewhere in between, swing trading, position trading? Therefore we might use daily charts, weekly charts. So that's the one on the left is the most important, because the one on the left is essentially a reflection of your style of trader. So in this case, in this example, we would be a long-term swing trader or a position trader. Now, the one on the right is just to help us be more specific on where we buy or sell, which means we can flit about a little bit between different time frames here. So I've looked at different time frames. We haven't found a setup, so I'm going to go back to the matrix and I'm going to more quickly go through these to see if we can get a decent opportunity quickly. And it looks like we do have one. Brilliant. So thick blue dot, probability upwards. The EMA is 21.07, which is nicely inside this UFO. Now, saying that, on this time frame, if you added a little bit of wiggle room to the top UFO, it would fall within the second UFO. If you added a little bit of wiggle room to the second UFO, it would fall within the third UFO. So what we're probably going to end up doing is having a trade that's that big. It would still only be a couple of dollars worth. It's not, you know, $2.25 or something like that. It wouldn't be a lot, but let's see if we can look at different time frames and be a little bit tighter about that. So on the 2-day chart, we don't have an opportunity, and on the 3-day, we don't either. So let's go back to the daily, and we will just have to combine these three, which looks bad, but we've got a lot of room to take it to the upside. So we're still going to have a decent reward to risk ratio. So let me just make a quick note here. By the way, this is our first stock session since New Year's. So happy New Year's, guys. Hope you've had a great start to your year so far, and obviously a great start to your trading year. So we are, I'm just making a note here, we are looking at VSH. This is Vishay Intertech. We are using a 1 week and a 1 day. We're going long. Our entry would be 21.34. That is the first number of this top UFO. Our stop loss, we're going to use this bottom number, which is $19 on the dot, but we're going to take off 10 cents for a better wiggle room. So that takes us to $18.90. Our target 1 will be 1 to 1 away. We'll figure that out in a second. And our target 2 is going to be 24.89, which is using this first number for the UFO there. Okay, so with all that in mind, let's go and have a look at TradingView. Here we are, TradingView. And go and place this trade. If we get this done quickly, I may look for another trade to do within these free sessions before we cut to the just being inside the closed coaching. So we have 1 day here. I'm going to take the UFOs off because sometimes they get annoying visually. Okay, so roughly just drawing that out, and then I'll type in what the numbers are. So entry is 21.34, stop loss is 18.90, final target, if we put it in here, is 24.89. So you'll notice just more than 1 to 1 away. So it's not the best, but it's not the worst either. It still fits the rules. So that will be our final target. And I'm going to use the calculation tools that we have here on TradingView to figure out what our first target will be. Now with all of these, I always make sure, or we always make sure, that our first target is 1 to 1 away. So that's what I've just worked out there. So our first target is 23.78. I always risk $50 just because it's a nice easy round number. You guys of course are going to make sure. That's interesting. Day, week, month. If you're connected to a broker that you can choose something different, we would choose GTC, good till cancelled. I'm going to put it in for the month for me. So we always use $50 as an example. You guys are obviously going to decide what you'd rather do, how much you'd rather risk. So for me, I'm just putting that in as an example. Please do change that depending on what's best for you. Okay, so same entry, same stop loss. And our profit target in this case is 24.89, which is 1.21 to 1. So if we're right and price goes into both of these, I think I put my entry, whoops, on the first one. Put my entry on the first one a bit too high. I did that wrong. So I'm going to have to change that. 21.34, 18.90, $50 a risk. And our profit target is, this is for the second one, 24.89. So that's actually a 1.45 to 1. There we go. A lesson in checking what you do before you click go. So this was placed on the 7th of January 2022. We used a 1 week and a 1 day. Lovely. VOH, brilliant. Thank you. Hesse, I think I've said that right, or Peace, maybe? Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. So VOH is what we can go and have a look at. Thank you for that. We'll use a US broker here to come and have a look. VOH. VOH. I can't. If this is what you meant, unless it was a typo or we're looking at a different exchange. Because VOH using a US broker is Vulcan Holdings. Well, that's VOHO actually, and it's not a very good chart. We don't have an opportunity that I can see, and the price is very bitty. If you're talking VEG or VEG of Lund, then that's a short opportunity perhaps. So just seen in the chat box there, sorry, it was a VOH FYI. I'm assuming FYI is for me, like for my information, and VOH is the ticker symbol you wanted me to look at. From what I see on TradingView, I wouldn't say, let's click on the next one. I wouldn't say we have any opportunities on VOH from what I can see, but perhaps I'm looking at a different exchange to you, or might have been a typo on the ticker symbol. So let me know if what exchange you're looking at, or if I did get the ticker symbol wrong. So let me know. Okay, so we placed one trade already, which was on VSH. So let's now come back and look at the next one down. So UCTT. Once I've placed the next trade is when we'll then cut the stream. So this is 54.23. So basically around current price. Let's have a look and see if we've got opportunities. Yes, we do. We have an opportunity on the 2-day and the 3-day. I'm going to go with the 3-day because it's got a slightly better probability rate. So there we go. So let me just spread this out so we can see what's going on. Thick blue dot, probability upwards. EMA is 54.2321, which is around about here, just inside this UFO. So we're going to take this UFO and we're going to go with it. Now, as you've noticed, price is already just within this UFO, or just out of it actually. So let's use these numbers and place this trade. Then we will cut the stream and we'll go into the closed coaching. So the stock is UCTT Ultra Clean Holdings. 1 week and a 3-day chart. We're going long. We're looking at 54.58 as our entry and 49.14 as our stop. Our final target will be 56.12. Just thinking there, unfortunately we won't be able to take this trade. And let me explain why. So if I just draw things around there. So let's take a, so if I draw this and this, and I'll draw it on this chart too so it's easier to see. So 54.58, which is, call it there, I'm just trying to make a point, to 49.14, which is all the way down here. See how what we have here is now, so just get my drawing tools right, we've got a reasonably wide area, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but when we trade we want to make sure that what we're risking is worth doing because of what we get out of it. In this case, if this is the equivalent to $1, $10, one whatever, then we're risking one to make what, 0.3, 0.2? It's not enough. It's an inverse reward to risk ratio, which is not something that we would be happy to do as traders. So unfortunately, although this looked good on the surface, in the end we won't take that trade because we don't have room for the profit. This is Telsus. Let's see where we are there. So by the way, if we never have, or if we don't have red UFOs above us, what that means is we don't have a second target. We trail our stop for our second target. So in this case, we've got a kind of clear upside, call it that. TU, I've just seen there a chat come in, VAR NGO. Okay, cool. I'll have a look at that in a second once we've done this one, because it looks like we've got an opportunity here. So on the 3-day chart, we do have an opportunity because the EMA is 23.16, which is kind of in here. On the 2-day chart, we could also do that on the 2-day, and on the 1-day, again, also an opportunity on the 1-day. So what I'm going to go for, considering we have different charts that show us opportunities, I'm going to go with the 2-day because it's got the highest probability rating. So this means we are looking at TU, it's 1 week and 2 days. A long entry is 23.13, stop loss is 22.38. It's actually going to be in between these two UFOs, but doesn't fall into the next one, so we'll leave it like that. Our final target is going to be a trailing stop, and we'll work out what our first target will be in a second. So this is TU. TU. Let's draw it on the chart. So 23.13. Now you might be saying, hold on, the EMA is at 23.16, 17. Why are we doing that? Because as price falls down, the EMA will fall down too. And it's very likely to fall within our UFO. So that's good for us. 22.38. So there we go, that's that in there. Looks big, but it's fine because we have room to take this to the upside. We don't have sellers in the way, basically. Unlike the previous example. 22.38, $50 worth of risk. In this case, our first target is going to be 23.88. And the second target is going to be a trailing. So I'm just going to double check everything. Entry is 23.13. Stop loss is 22.38. The profit target is 1 to 1 away. My risk is $50 just because, again, that's easy for us. I'll put the time in force for a month. Ideally, if you can, if this is connected to your broker, you would put the time in force as GTC, meaning good till cancelled. So placed 7th Jan 2022, 1 week and 2 days it was. Yep, 1 week and 2 days, and T2 was trailing. In order to put a trailing stop in as your second target, you would literally just put it in the same way, pretty much. So same entry, 23.13, same stop, 22.38, same risk, $50 in this case, same time and force, which is a month. In my case, it would be GTC if you can, and then click buy. You just leave the profit target empty. So what that means is as price goes in your favor, if price goes in your favor, you move your stop up with it to lock in profit as you go. Right, let's look at, so you said VUM. So we can't find a symbol for that. It's an NGO, so if we can't find it here on a chart, then I wouldn't be looking at it. If that's the symbol you meant, VUM, from what I see. I'm just, when people write 3 letters to me, I just assume, let me see if you meant NGO as well. No, nothing there. Okay, so when people write 3 letters to me in the chat box, I can only assume it's a stock ticker symbol. So if I can't find it, maybe that's me typing it in wrong. Maybe it's a typo on you guys putting it in wrong. It happens, we're human. Or maybe it might be stocks that are outside of the US, which is why I'm not finding them. So we look mainly at US stocks. Reason for that, by the way, is because US stocks tend to have the highest volume across the world, which means that we are more likely to get a buy for our sell when we want to sell, or a sell for our buy when we want to buy. The less people are trading a particular stock, the less likely we are to get a buy for our sell or a sell for our buy when we want it, which is why we use US stocks, which is why I'm looking for US exchanges, and that might be why I'm not seeing your suggestions. So apologies for that. If you are looking at stocks outside of the US, that might be what's happening there, why you're sending me, like I said, 3-letter symbols that I might not be able to find, so apologies on that. Okay, so we have now placed 2 trades. We've gone past what would be the sort of halfway point, I guess. So we will cut here to the free streams, so across YouTube and things like that. We'll continue within the closed coaching and continue to look for some new trades to place. Those that are watching online in the free streams, if you have questions or anything, ideally you go to tradewithufos.com/Becky. You can get apps and platforms, coaching, and you can log in for free here and ask some questions that might be able to help other people if you post the questions there, and also we of course answer them there. Otherwise, Happy New Year again. Have a great end to your trading week today. I will see you again on Monday, I think is my next session. So I will see you guys on Monday. For those that are in the closed coaching, bear with me whilst I cut the stream to the free ones. So take care. Bye-bye.